Live from Washington, D.C., Sekulow Live. Phone lines are open for your questions right now. And now, Chief Counsel for the American Center for Law and Justice, Sekulow.
Welcome to the broadcast, everyone. I want to encourage you to do something. We did a broadcast about 2 weeks ago on the issue of life. I want to take you back to the studio. This was an important conversation. Our phone lines lit up, talking about defending the unborn. Let's go back to the studio for this discussion. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the broadcast. And we've got a lot to cover. It's a busy news day. We're going to hit everything from the situation right now with this Indiana law, which is significant. This is a big issue. And that is Indiana passed a law that was protecting life and says, you know what, you don't get to have an abortion because of the race of the child or the sex of the child or some genetic disability like Down syndrome. That's not the reason for an abortion. Planned Parenthood, of course, fired back with a federal lawsuit. That is now in court. In March, Governor Pence in Indiana became the second state in the nation to ban abortions because of these kind of fetal abnormalities, but also, as they're called. And by the way, I hate that phrase. A child's a child. But we're not talking about the life of the mother, the health of the mother, none of that. We're talking about race, gender, and a disability as the basis upon which you end the child's life. Planned Parenthood filing suit in Indiana. We are going to be filing a brief on behalf of the state of Indiana. And internationally, a big development. Iran tests another ballistic missile. This missile can reach Israel. It can also reach U.S. military bases in the region. This is the Iran the Obama administration cut a deal with. We're taking your calls on all of these issues, including the feud that's developing between Paul Ryan and Donald Trump as well. Let me go to Than quickly here out of our office in Washington, D.C. Governor Pence taking a bold move for life as the state legislature did. It's under challenge. This is more of Planned Parenthood's modus operandi. Challenge anything that protects life.
Yeah, that's right. That's the most amazing part of this to me, Jay. The abortion industry will defend abortion at any time and for any reason. We are talking about whether or not a child is a girl or what race that child is. The abortion industry steps forward and defends the right to abort. Even for those reasons, it has got to stop, Jay.
We've got a brief that we're going to be filing, and we want you to be part of it. We have a committee that says protect these children. Very simply, go to aclj.org right now, aclj.org. Sign on to that petition. You're joining a committee to protect life. And that committee is going to file a brief defending Indiana and defending these unborn children. We could use your help on that brief. Go to aclj.org. That's aclj.org and add your name. When we come back, we're going to take your calls on the Indiana case, on the situation with Iran, and other news developments. Back with more in just a moment.
It's difficult to imagine anyone advocating to kill babies with disabilities. But that's exactly what's happening in one state. The state of Indiana has passed a common-sense pro-life law, outlawing selective abortions, killing babies simply because they may face potential mental or physical disabilities, or because of their race or sex. But there's opposition to this law. That's right. Now Planned Parenthood and the pro-abortion ACLU are suing Indiana in federal court to stop this pro-life law. As you know, the ACLJ is front and center in defending life. We're working in Congress and in multiple federal courts to expose and stop the horrific murder and sale of aborted babies' body parts. As you know, the ACLJ is front and center to defend Indiana's pro-life law. You can play a vital role. Sign on to our amicus brief right now. Call 1-877-989-2255 or add your name online, aclj.org.
So Indiana passes a law to protect children because of their race and their color or disability, which is, by the way, protected under federal civil rights laws. You can't discriminate against people because of their race, their gender, their disability. We have those laws in place. Indiana wants to do that for children. Planned Parenthood says, no, you can't do it. And the American people are fighting back. And let me tell you, fighting back in a big way, because we are filing a brief on behalf of Indiana, and that's where you come in. We want you to help us. The brief is up at aclj.org. I encourage you to sign it. We're also taking your phone calls on a host of issues. Iran launching a ballistic missile that, in fact, can reach U.S. military bases and certainly Israel, so that's at risk. And then you have the situation, the Paul Ryan, which I'm going to get into on the broadcast tomorrow. There's kind of Paul Ryan, Donald Trump flare-up that's going on right now. But in the interim, let's go ahead and take some phone calls. 1-800-684-3110. Who do we have?
Yep, we got Sammy calling from Amarillo, Texas, on line 1. You're on the air.
Hi, Sammy.
Hello, how are you doing today?
Good, sir.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Well, brother, I just want to make a comment. I'm a vet. I have multiple family members that are in the service as well.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for your support. I greatly appreciate that.
Yep.
Well, brother, you're hearing. I appreciate you being on the radio here and televising this stuff. And we just need to get back to our fundamentals and get back to the King James Bible and get back to protecting the lives of these unborn children. I mean, there's so many things that mature, responsible adults can do. There's contraceptives of all different varieties.
Well, look, when you've got a situation, Planned Parenthood there's an interesting comment that came in. We read it during the break on Periscope, and we could repeat it again. And this is from Norma on Periscope. Yeah, she said an interesting thing, Sammy, and kind of ties into what you're saying.
Yeah, Norma said Planned Parenthood has been given too much power under this administration.
And the fact of the matter is, Than Bennett is our Director of Governmental Affairs. The fact of the matter is that Planned Parenthood is in lockstep with this administration, and they've had more visits to the White House probably than anybody. And this is they've got an administration they've got 7 more months of operating with, and they're going to do everything they can.
It's why Planned Parenthood is emboldened, Jay. I mean, this administration has given them the power, has given them the permission to pursue their agenda at any means because they've been welcomed in the White House and at the policy table. And I would just quickly say to Sammy, there is a parallel here with ISIS. I mean, the parallel is eugenics. ISIS kills because of your race and your religion, and Planned Parenthood is now fighting for the same thing. Race and gender, or if a child has a disability, they want the right to terminate, that's the word they would use, terminate that pregnancy at any point. That is a parallel that I think is fair to make.
Well, I'll tell you this. You look at the situation and what they're doing. The idea that we have federal law that protects people from discrimination against race, against gender, against disabilities, but we will not do – a state then says we're going to do the same thing for the unborn child, and we say now all of a sudden the federal government's going to say no. Is the federal government going to come in and back Planned Parenthood on this? Yes, they are. So the federal government's going to say no to the state of Indiana. You cannot protect children because of their race, gender, or disability. If you think that's outrageous, I want you to join us in this effort. Almost 25,000 people have. We've got a brief that we're going to file on this case. So we don't just talk about the issues here. We litigate them. So go to aclj.org. That's the easiest way, aclj.org, to sign on to that brief. I encourage you to do it. If you want to talk to us on air, we're going to take your calls at 1-800-684-3110, 800-684-3110. Let's grab another call or comment.
Sure. Let's go to David, who's calling from Pasadena, California. David, welcome to the broadcast.
Hey, David.
Hey, thank you. Hey, I just wanted it is ludicrous what's going on. And I just think, is Indiana the flag bearer? Are they the last state in the union to stand up to the federal government? We had it with the cake issue, if you're
the bakers.
Yeah, that. And the other thing is the basis of you supporting the Indiana law, is it based on a constitutional right?
Sure, I believe that the child has a constitutional right to life. I believe in personhood of the child. Now, the ACLU takes a very different view. And let me play for you Ken Falk. This is soundbite number 4. This is the ACLU at the press conference. This is what they're saying. Then I'm going to debunk what he's actually saying.
This statute does something that the United States Supreme Court has said repeatedly cannot be done. It is an attempt by the state of Indiana to interfere with and actually prohibit a woman's right to determine whether or not to have an abortion.
And actually, he's incorrect as a matter of law. But I do want to point out, as I've mentioned repeatedly here, Planned Parenthood, which is in the business of abortion, we know that. But they are taking the position that a state cannot, under its legislation, protect a child in the womb because of their race, their gender, or a disability, which, by the way, is protected under federal law. So that's the absurd nature at which Planned Parenthood and these groups will go to defend the right to abortion. And the fact is, I mean, Dan, we looked at the funding issue. You look at these other issues, but this is a serious issue.
Well, the double standards here are unbelievable. Remember, Planned Parenthood came to the Hill earlier in the year and essentially testified that they also had a constitutional right to taxpayer dollars. So they think that the constitutional rights when it comes to abortion are pretty broad. But I would draw another distinction. Think about their position on informed consent. When it comes to a healthy child, they do not believe that the mother has the right to see the images of that healthy child. It is only when the child is either not healthy or of the wrong gender or of the wrong race that they reverse their course. So they're trying to have it both ways here. and we've got to point out those inconsistencies.
Well, I think that's right, and we're doing that, and our brief will do exactly that. So again, go to aclj.org, sign on to that brief. We're going to be defending Indiana and defending these children so they're not aborted because of their sex, gender, or a disability. Let's go ahead and take another call.
Yep, another call. Jenny's calling from New York City, New York. You're on the air.
Hi, Jenny.
I'm a physician. I'm also of an Indian background, and this is a problem in the Asian community where the girl child is selectively aborted. This is happening commonly in the UK. I lived in India for a time, and in India, they're not even allowed to tell you the gender because they know it's such a prevalent problem that the numbers and the ratios of the girl children born and boy children born are affected.
So let me recast this for everybody. Jenny, you're a physician. The gender selection abortion issue, male, female, is a big issue.
It is.
And
it's happening.
Yeah, and and you said it's not just in the United States, it's around the globe.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about what is the, because I'm making the legal argument that that kind of selection violates the Constitution. We have all these protections for gender. We have all these protections for race. We have all these protections for disability. Why would we not put that inside to protect the child in the womb? I believe in the personhood of the child. But you're saying that this is a situation that is a basically those that want to and globally it's the desire of having a male child.
That's correct.
So sex-selective abortions. I want people. This Jenny's calling. She's a physician in New York City. Sex selection abortion is a serious and real issue.
Yeah, if you look at the statistics in many Asian countries, it's skewed. The number of young boys. It should be equal. It should be almost equal. But you see that there are more boy children than girl children, and there's a reason for that.
Well, I appreciate you calling in, Jenny. Again, this is why we're bringing you the information, folks. I mean, this is the reality of what's going on. Jenny, thanks for calling in. We appreciate it. I got a physician calling that understands the issue globally. We're going to deal with that, obviously, in the law. I've given you the legal argument. And let's take some comments on Facebook and Periscope as well.
Yeah, a lot of comments coming in. Planned Parenthood is a barbaric industry that covers itself by giving out all of these essentially lies. Let's go to Adam, who's calling from Delaware.
Good call. All right, Adam,
Hello,
you're on
Jay.
the air. Yep.
Hi, Jay.
Yep.
I just want to tell you, Planned Parenthood's modus operandi is exactly the way conservatives need to be with our principles, with the homosexuals and gay marriage, civil unions and gay marriage, and now we have.
Well, but let me ask you this question. I mean, you have a situation. Planned Parenthood is filing the lawsuit. Indiana did the right thing. Indiana passed a law to protect the child. So this is not a situation where we're reactive. The law was passed. The lawsuit was filed. When a lawsuit is filed, what you do is you defend that lawsuit. And that's what we're going to do with the Attorney General's Office of Indiana. We believe that as federal law, as I said over and over, and I'm going to say it this whole program, protects race, gender, people with disabilities. That should be a protection inside the womb as well, unless the life of the mother is actually at risk, which they're not even alleging here. That's not even the allegation. It's really race and gender selection, as we just heard the call from Jenny. All right, we're taking more of your calls. We're coming up on a break. Let me go to Than quickly here. I want to pivot to the situation in Iran. We've got this ballistic missile test again. Iran thumbing their nose at the United States. What's the latest in Washington on this, Than?
I look at these recent developments, Jay, and the first thing that comes to my mind is what Secretary Kerry told us a couple of weeks ago, that Iran had to stop these provocative behaviors. And we said at the time, Jay, if they don't stop it, what will the United States do? We are seeing the answer to that now. This administration, Jay, doesn't want to do anything. And by the way, that's why the provocative measures are increasing, because they know that the United States is weak on this right now. I think you're going to see a pushback from Congress, by the way.
Obviously, this is a huge issue, folks, with a lot of information about what's going on in Indiana as they're taking a stand for life. We need to support the unborn child, and this is the way to do it. These cases come up. We file briefs. You can be part of it. You could sign that committee. Let me encourage you. Almost 60,000 people have already. Go to aclj.org. I'd love to see 100,000 signatures. You can also call us at 877-989-2255. That's aclj.org or 1-877-989-2255 to take a stand for life.
It's difficult to imagine anyone advocating to kill babies with disabilities. But that's exactly what's happening in one state. The state of Indiana has passed a common-sense pro-life law, outlawing selective abortions, killing babies simply because they may face potential mental or physical disabilities, or because of their race or sex. But there's opposition to this law. That's right. Now Planned Parenthood and the pro-abortion ACLU are suing Indiana in federal court to stop this pro-life law. As you know, the ACLJ is front and center in defending life. We're working in Congress and in multiple federal courts to expose and stop the horrific murder and sale of aborted babies' body parts. As you know, the ACLJ is front and center to defend Indiana's pro-life law. You can play a vital role. Sign on to our amicus brief right now. Call 1-877-989-2255 or add your name online, aclj.org.
Hey, welcome back to the broadcast, everyone. We're talking about a couple of issues today. There's multiple issues going on, as you can imagine. Indiana is the subject of a lawsuit by Planned Parenthood. We're going to be defending Indiana through amicus briefs that we're going to file in court. That issue involves a law that protects the unborn child, that they should not be discriminated against, in other words, life terminated because of gender, race, or disability, which is also protected in federal law. But we think that should apply, as Indiana did, to the child. By the way, North Dakota has the same law. Also, Iran launches a ballistic missile test. Those missiles could reach U.S. military bases and Israel. Again, this is after the United States signed the so-called agreement, although there's nothing really signed, the arrangement with the Iranians. That's going on. And then we've got this brewing development between Donald Trump and Paul Ryan. We're going to talk about that more on tomorrow's broadcast. We'll get into it later as well. But let's go ahead and take some more phone calls and more comments that are coming in. 1-800-684-3110.
Yeah, the line's just lit up, and a lot of people are chiming in. All right, let's go ahead. Let's go to Lydia, who's calling from Tulsa, Oklahoma. You're on the air.
Hi, Lydia.
Hi, thank you, Dr. J, for taking our call.
Sure.
And we're just praying for you for supernatural favor and wisdom.
Appreciate
all
it.
your cases. And I sign all your petitions all the time. The question I have for you, which is really not clear how this is happening with Planned Parenthood, is that they're a nonprofit organization and they're receiving our tax dollars to fund their organization.
Lots of them.
Why is it that they're allowed to use those same tax dollars that we provide them to fund a Democratic Party or a political party?
Oh, there you go. I mean, you ask, Lydia, it's a great question. Planned Parenthood is one of the biggest lobbyist groups. They've got a big political action committee, and they defend their candidates. Their candidate is Hillary Clinton. That's who they've come out and endorsed. And they got all over her when she said the word unborn child. Unborn person is what she said. We should get that clip of Hillary Clinton. And it tells you the idea here that, look, they're beholden. This is their, look, they are a juggernaut. They're huge. Fan, I think you need to describe, when we have these issues come up on Capitol Hill, when you're up there with our team, and we've got a big team too, folks, so believe me, we go toe-to-toe with Planned Parenthood, but you need to understand the scope of what they're doing in Washington, D.C. on the lobbying side, on the government affairs side of this.
Yeah, and I'm glad Lydia brings this up because it's a shell game. It's an accounting gimmick. They get $1.3 billion. Federal law says they cannot use that for abortions. We pointed that out many times. So they use it for other things. But what it does is it frees up money for exactly what Lydia is saying. They then convert those private contributions over to the political side, and their PAC, their lobbying arm, does two things. They fund candidates who are pro-choice and liberal pro-choice, and then they also send people to the Hill to advocate for those pro-abortion policies. So it may be indirect in a way because they are accounting gimmicks, but make no mistake about it. Those federal dollars, Jay, back up that operation on the Hill and on the campaign trail.
It is exactly what Dan said. It is a gimmick. All right, more calls. Let's go.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to Lori, who's calling from Washington on line 5.
Hi, Lori.
Hi, good morning, Jay.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good.
I just wanted to say that I wanted to thank you very much for all that you do as far as writing amicus briefs,
Thanks.
defending life everywhere. And I just wanted to let people think about this a little bit. Isn't it a good sign that these lawsuits are actually coming out now?
Yep.
I know that in the last year or two, more pro-life legislation has been written in every state. I mean, most every state, not my state. I'm in Washington State. And I think that people ought to be, in one way, really happy because it's coming forth.
Well, a lot of it's the technology, Lori. The technology has changed so drastically with 4D imagery and 3D imagery and the ultrasounds that it's just changed the debate. The technology has shown that we're talking about a person, and that person is entitled to protection under the Constitution. So, yes, we should be encouraged there. I think it's a positive development. It's good. We have to be aggressive in our defense of these statutes when they come up. They're passed. We need to defend them. That's exactly what we're doing at the ACLJ. We don't just talk about it, as I said. We're litigating these issues. and we're going to be there for Indiana, defend it. So ACLJ.org is the best place to go to sign that brief. We encourage you to do it. And thank you very much for calling. Appreciate it, Laurie.
Let's go to Linda, who's calling in Newark, New Jersey.
Hey, Linda.
Oh, hi. How are you?
Good.
I just want to speak about the Planned Parenthood. I followed the political arena for quite some time. I'm about 70 years old.
Yep.
And I'm wondering why, now, as far as I can see, Planned Parenthood has not changed anything that it's doing.
Right.
But it's strange that in all the administrations, there was never such an outcry as until Obama came.
Well, there's a reason for that. Okay? There's a reason for that, and that is Planned Parenthood has not been able to accomplish what they've been able to accomplish because they've been able to do that because of the Obama administration. And let me give you a perfect for instance. The sale of the fetal body parts. If just an individual organization were to do that, they'd end up in jail. Not Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood, Than will tell you, is one of the strongest lobbies in Washington, D.C., and when you've got a friendly administration, this presents another problem.
Yeah, I'm holding in my hands, Jay, the latest annual report from Planned Parenthood, and it will confirm what you just said. They are now a $1.3 billion industry. They abort more than 323,000 babies every day. They have dramatically increased. I know what the caller's saying, that they have always been in this business of abortion, but their business has dramatically expanded because of this administration. Now, if you want to talk about previous administrations, by and large, the reason that defunding didn't happen was because it couldn't get out of Congress. Now the defunding can get out of Congress, but you don't have a president will sign it. So at the end of the day, Jay, we need all three things to happen: the House, the Senate, and the president to pull back on this funding, because, again, it should be against the law for them to receive this funding because they are engaged in abortion, and yet they continue to receive all of that funding.
So the fact is, they're because of the Obama administration, they're stronger in their political impact than before. Let me show you to Facebook and Periscope and to our audience that's watching on ACLJ.org. This is the Mother's Day announcement. We have it up, actually. Happy Mother's Day. Planned Parenthood is committed to building a world that values, respects, and supports safe and wanted motherhood. Hashtag moms matter. I'd like to hashtag on an additional one to that says, babies matter too. And the fact of the matter is Planned Parenthood believes that gender and race are the basis upon which abortions can be engaged in. And that in and of itself, to me, raises serious legal issues, and that's why we're not just talking about it. We'll be filing that brief on behalf of Indiana. Taking your calls and comments at 1-800-684-3110. Let me play for you what President Obama had to say about this. Yeah, this goes to the last caller. Why the Planned Parenthood has been more emboldened. Here's why.
There will always be people, many of goodwill, who do not share my view on the issue of choice. On this fundamental issue, I will not yield, and Planned Parenthood will not yield.
So that explains it. So does the life issue matter? It should. This is an unborn child, should be protected under the law. It's now protected in Indiana. We're going to seek to make sure that law comes into enforcement. That's what we want to do. All right, let's take some more calls or comments. Logan, what do we have next?
Yeah, a lot of calls and comments are coming in. This was, a lot of people are just clearly very frustrated. A lot of comments coming in. A lot of them I don't want to read on the air. I've said that just because they're maybe explicit, not explicit language, but explicit content.
Yeah.
And that's not to say if people are watching on Facebook, people are upset. People are upset. A lot of people using, rhetoric that, like I said, not necessarily great for the air, but people are just generally frustrated.
About Planned Parenthood.
This is Linda who said Planned Parenthood needs to be shut down and destroyed. Abortion is legalized murder, plain and simple. There's no legalese that could change that. I've never been invited to a fetus shower, only a baby shower. And those are some of the more, tame ones I can say on the air. But a lot of people are coming in with these kind of comments. And it's not to say that they're not right to do that.
Yeah. Let me tell you how to vent your frustration here. Don't just think about it. Don't just talk about it on radio or TV. Do something about it. And you could do a big part about it. If they're frustrated, Logan, it sounds like they are.
Absolutely.
All right. Here's what you do. Everybody that's frustrated right now, go to ACLJ.org. Right now, go to ACLJ.org, sign on to that committee to protect that brief. You'll sign that brief. You'll be part of the committee. So you're not just frustrated and angry and annoyed. You are actually going to take some direct action. And I encourage you to do that on ACLJ.org. That's the easiest way to do it. And I encourage you to do that now at ACLJ.org.
Yeah, Dawn's got a question. Let's go to her. Dawn in Syracuse. You're on the air.
Hey, Dawn.
Hi, Jay. Thanks for taking my call. I also want to say that can people still donate on the ACLJ.org as a way to
Absolutely.
support?
We're not in a matching challenge, but by the way, which a huge, again, thank you. for our April matching challenge. We did great because of your support. But yes, people can support the work of the ACLJ anytime at 24/7 ACLJ.org. Thank you, Dawn. Go ahead.
So regarding that, some states have had laws in the past, and I don't know what Indiana's is, that if a woman gets attacked and she's pregnant and her child dies, that the person who harmed them could be charged for both lives.
Yeah, fetal homicide is called. Yep.
So is there a chance that if these laws were overturned, that doctors would be at risk of getting sued by people that they've performed abortions on?
Well, there would be an issue, and it would depend if the criminal law was changed to actually include that. So abortions are legal in the United States. This doesn't prohibit all abortions, by the way. It just says the reason can't be race or gender or a disability, which is protected under federal law anyways. I mean, that the right to be protected, and it's just applying it to the child. So the doctor's liability, we've seen doctor's liability. We saw it in the Gosnell case, where the doctor was held liable because he did not perform the procedures in a safe environment and was negligent and was charged with homicide and is convicted and is in jail because of his actions. So abortion as the taking of human life is recognized in multiple scenarios. What you're talking about is if a child is in a car accident, sometimes there's negligence involved, it'll be a double homicide. So the laws would have to be changed in that regard. But look, you got to first get the child recognized for personhood, and that's part of what we're trying to do. Thanks for joining me on this special broadcast today. I wanted to take a look back on this program from just a couple of weeks ago because we broadcast every day on Facebook, Periscope, and of course our radio network. But these programs that we think have a meaningful impact, I want to make sure they get to television right away, so we're able to do that. Again, we appreciate you joining with us on a very important topic on defending life and standing up for life. But I want to encourage you to join with us in this fight. And you could do that by going to aclj.org or calling us at 1-877-989-2255. Sign that brief. Be part of history. aclj.org or 877-989-2255.
It's difficult to imagine anyone advocating to kill babies with disabilities. But that's exactly what's happening in one state. The state of Indiana has passed a common-sense pro-life law, outlawing selective abortions, killing babies simply because they may face potential mental or physical disabilities, or because of their race or sex. But there's opposition to this law. That's right. Now Planned Parenthood and the pro-abortion ACLU are suing Indiana in federal court to stop this pro-life law. As you know, the ACLJ is front and center in defending life. We're working in Congress and in multiple federal courts to expose and stop the horrific murder and sale of aborted babies' body parts. As you know, the ACLJ is front and center to defend Indiana's pro-life law. You can play a vital role. Sign on to our amicus brief right now. Call 1-877-989-2255 or add your name online, aclj.org.